We have a very special panel today, and I'm excited to introduce this presentation. This is Centering Human Connection and Leadership: How to Foster Collaborative Teams to Advance Early Psychosis Care. This panel is comprised of two outstanding coordinated specialty team leads within Region 6, and how we then discuss positive team dynamics, and then how that ultimately supports individuals with early psychosis. They're going to be sharing the potential impact of leadership styles and the importance of individualizing one's leadership approach to each staff member, incorporating individual differences and cultures. They'll use their experience as team leaders to discuss considerations for managing team conflict, incorporating diverse perspectives, and changing team culture. At this time, I'd like to welcome Dr. Samantha Resnick, who will be the host of the event. Sam, the floor is yours. And just so you know, we're working on getting one of our panelists on screen still, so give us a moment. But please, the floor is yours for now, and we'll get Linda with you here shortly.
All right, awesome. I'm really thrilled to get to host this panel. As part of my role, I get to collaborate with and learn from providers all across the state of Texas. And one of the consistent considerations that comes up is how we collaborate across differences on multidisciplinary teams. And today, I have the privilege of inviting two speakers that I've really been inspired from in terms of how they help people collaborate across difference, and not only collaborate, but really celebrate diversity and celebrate the differences on their team, and are really role models, I think, for all of us in how we can do that. And so it is just such a privilege to be able to host Sharhonda Webster today, as well as Linda C. Williams. We are still getting Linda on technology, so we'll start with Sharhonda, but it is just wonderful to have you both here today. And I know you wanted to introduce yourself, so we'll hop into that. So maybe Sharhonda, if I can have you give a quick introduction of your role, that would be fantastic.
Well, thank you, Sam. Hello, everyone. So my name is Sharhonda Webster. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been in the mental health field for the last 5 years. I started off as a case manager, and then I ventured into other roles. I was an outreach worker during a crisis epidemic, and then I was a crisis counselor during COVID. And then I started venturing into leadership roles. I have been over a supported housing program where we housed people experiencing homelessness. And then that led me to my current role. I'm a first episode psychosis team lead, where I have the privilege and honor of leading a team of 7 other individuals. Currently on my team, we have me, I'm the team lead, but I'm also the therapist. We have a case manager, we have a peer, we have a family partner, we have a supported and education and employment specialist, and we also have a psychiatrist and a nurse, and we all see the same group of clients. So that's a little bit about me and my team.
And welcome, Linda. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Linda C. Williams. I was having technical difficulties. Apparently, you have to press join. I was staring at myself for 15 minutes. So my name is Linda C. Williams. I am the clinical program coordinator for the EOP unit at Spindletop Center. It's got an early onset program. We did away with psychosis right after we first started because it was such a stigma, changed signs and everything. I lead a very nice team of 4 other people. 1, 2, 3, 4 other people. We have a team. What do we have here? We have a. I'm trying not to be nervous, Sam. Okay.
It's okay to be nervous, Linda. We're all nervous.
I have a recovery coach, Hannah Fracastoro. She does an excellent job. She does all our skills training and everything else pretty much because we were shorthanded for a while. We have Miss Josie, how you say your last name? Bellamar. She is brand new. She is still in training. She's under her 90-day, as well as Corrigan Denman, who is our peer specialist. We also have Pamela Denise Coleman, who is a certified family partner. And I think we have a very good, diverse team, different, walks of life, people that are from this community. I was born and raised here, so I used to run my bikes around here. So I've been with Spindletop for a little bit over 9 years, worked in IDD, the CSU, which is the Crisis Stabilization Unit, worked in 𝐂𝐞𝐬𝐧𝐿, worked in bed days, and then I ended up here. This is where I actually wanted to be from day one. So when this program opened up, I applied for it, but I wasn't at full LPC yet. And I was pretty upset about that because I was like maybe 4 weeks away from having my LPC. But I waited until it came open again and I grabbed it. So here I am, been here for a little over 2.5 years now. So I enjoy it. I just like doing what we do. We get to get people from their first time having that break and be able to help them walk through life for 3 years. We have 3 people that are fixing to graduate from the program within the next few months. So we're pretty jazzed about that they made it all the way through. And we also have a second team coming pretty soon, I hope too. I heard they're giving out the contracts now. So I'm hoping we're going to get that going pretty quick. We're ready. So other than that, that's I think that's what I have.
Amazing. Thank you both so much for being here. These are 2 people that I have been very inspired by in our state, who are really leading the charge in thinking about how to be strong leaders on these really complex teams and person-centered care. And so I'm really excited to have the opportunity to host both of you today and learn from you and have your wisdom be shared with our group. So with that being said, I believe we wanted to talk a little bit about leadership and how leadership can foster relationships. So I'll start with Sharhonda, but Sharhonda, if you can tell us a little bit about your leadership style and how your leadership style changes over time.
I'm trying not to be nervous too, Linda. Trying to take my deep breaths. Okay. My leadership style. I think for one, I categorize myself as a servant leader. I'm very collaborative. I'm very hands-on with my team. I also, I would consider myself a very transparent and open leader. My leadership style, it changes, depends on my staff or my team member and what they may need. I think I'm very flexible in my leadership style because I understand like everybody has different skill sets, everybody has different ways of doing things and different strengths. So I kind of play to my team's strengths and also help them turn weaknesses into strengths. So I can be whatever they need. I can be your accountability partner. I can be the coach. I can be, the helper. I can be the person that's your cheerleader. So I just become whatever my team may need in those moments. So that's how I would define my leadership and how it's flexible.
Thank you so much, Sharhonda. We're getting lots of comments in the chat about those amazing leadership qualities. And I also just want to say, I think part of that transparency is being honest as leaders when we're nervous or something's not going well, right? I think there can often be this idea that as leaders, we're not allowed to share emotions, right? We're not allowed to share when we're nervous. And I think it's so much more human and really centers relationship when we can acknowledge that we're nervous on a big panel, right? With a lot of participants here today. So thank you for sharing that. And Linda, I'll kick it over to you to talk a little bit about your leadership style too.
I'm trying not to be nervous. I'm looking at myself on my screen in front of me. Then I have us up on the TV and I'm beet red. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. So my leadership style is I just try to be real. I'm like Sharhonda. We have a lot of things in common. I want to be transparent. I want the staff that works with me, to know that we are all equals here. It's just everybody else has different responsibilities. We decide everything as a team. If I know about it, they know about it. And I try to anticipate things that are going to happen. We try to put out fires as quickly as possible, and we work as a team to do that. And I remind everybody, hey, we've had a pretty couple of rough weeks here. We had some stuff going on, and everybody pulled together. We had to kind of reschedule a bunch of stuff and just get some things done that needed to be done. And we come through. We're at the end of it now, so we're looking pretty good. So everybody's getting back to their regular training, getting everybody going. But my leadership style is just about keep focused on 2 things. You got to take care of your team and remind your team that this is just a job, but when you're here, give it everything you got that you can and take care of the clients. And then everything else, all the technicalities, all the requirements, you know, productivity, all that will fall in line if you just do that one thing, take care, or two things, take care of yourself and take care of the client, you know, because if you're not well, then, you know, you're taking care of people when you're not well, and they're not well either. So, but just try to be transparent and be real. So, you know, if something's wrong, don't pussyfoot around it. Just kind of, oh, sorry about that. Just kind of get to it. Sorry about that, Sam. You know me. Yeah, I'm real. But, you know, just get to the point and take care of it and work together on it. And you know what? Most of the time the staff have the answer. They just need to have somebody talk about it. They know what to do. So I try to give them that. I don't micromanage unless I have to, because I want them to know that they are little managers and they can take care of things. So I think that's what keeps us strong, part of it.
Thank you so much, Linda. And as we were preparing for this panel, we had a lot of conversations back channel about the need to be authentic as leaders, right? And that people can tell when you're kind of put in on a front of leadership. And I think that's part of, I'm seeing comments in the chat about the slipping. I think that's part of, right, being authentic to who we are and using the language that we would naturally use. So that brings me into kind of a next question that we had. When you think about a positive team dynamic, what does that look like for you? And maybe just to alternate, we'll go ahead and start with Linda this time, go back and forth.
Yeah. So what did you just say the question was? I don't know if I got the right sheet in front of me. What'd you say the question? I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. The positive team dynamic question. If you want to talk a little bit too, we were kind of talking a bit about authenticity and leadership as well.
Yeah. Well, the team dynamic, what does it look like and why is it important? I think your team dynamic needs to match your community. You know, I think it's very important. It'd be like bringing somebody, a bunch of people that worked at a bank all their life, and you got a bunch of bankers in here trying to do mental health. You know, yeah, they went to school and they got their little scholarship and all that stuff and their papers that say they can work in mental health, but they've never lived it. They've never worked in this community. I think if you have people who deal with dual diagnosis, you know, like with the psychosis and being an addict or anything like that, you got to have people that work in your unit. They understand that not necessarily that they lived it, but they've seen it. They've lived, had a part of life in it through family members or something like that. That's the kind of what I look for when we're doing the hiring process. And the team dynamic, they got to be able to click. I kind of go with the gut feeling when I'm doing that, you know, and I say, okay, I know these staff now, and we're bringing in somebody new. I'll look at that, you know, because if they can't bond, I think we have to have some kind of bond going on. It doesn't have to be like, you know, we're best friends in the whole world, but it also needs to be where we trust each other. And I think when you have a team dynamic, if trust is not there, you're not going to be able to do the main thing they like us to do and make team decisions. Because you're sitting around, and we just had a meeting actually about it, and just to kind of refresh how we look at trust and how we trust each other, we trust ourselves. We had a pretty serious meeting and went very well. We ironed out some little tiny things that, you know, some of us weren't aware of, and we talked about them. And what was so neat is that it was a very open forum, and we got to kind of almost reset, you know, because I felt like the team dynamic was kind of jiggling a little bit because it's been so much change, you know, because we have a whole new team now, you know, except for me and Pam. Pam's been here the longest. So we lost some people to other jobs, unfortunately. But overall, I think the team dynamic, just knowing it kind of goes along with how kind of manager you are. Your people need to know they can be just as open as you can be. And I think that needs to be a shared thing to have shared decisions. I think everybody has to know that their voice matters, that they matter. Doesn't matter if you have a degree or not, because I tell you what, my peers know more than me because they live it every day, you know? And so I learn a lot from them. And I think we have to be open to each other to learn from one another, not just from the books, you know, not just by the policies and procedures. I think it has to be everyone. Our motto here for the EOP team, our vision on our vision board, it says, I am because we are. You know, I'm nothing without my team. And, you know, and there's something without me, but at the same time, it takes all of us to do it. But that's how I feel about it. I am because we are. And that's what our clients feel too. They read our t-shirts and they said, I am because we are. And I explained that to them. You know, without you, there is not us. I'm not glad you're ill. I'm just glad that we can do this. We can help you, you know, and it's important that they know that they have people to lean on. You know, they have that resource there besides just family who pretty much has kicked them to the curb. So our team dynamic in the end has to be a family. You know, it really does. They're not getting Christmas presents, so, but they're family.
I love that, Linda. Oh, go ahead, Sharhonda. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna touch on it. She said they're not getting Christmas presents. Well, sometimes you can give them a present, Linda. I guess the way I would answer that question, I think you did a great in describing that, what positive team dynamics look like. I think also when we're thinking about what positive team dynamics look like, we have to talk about the leadership. I think leadership matters because, you know, I worked under people and I worked having to be the leader. I think I say a lot because I'm nervous. Okay, I'm trying to get that up. But for me, there's a difference between a leader and a manager. I've had very few leaders that I've worked under, but many managers. And leadership matters. We talking about human connection. So when we talking about positive dynamics, I think the leader gonna create the dynamics that the team will ultimately stand under and how they will navigate and work with one another. I think leaders, for me, a leader is somebody that inspires you to change, inspires you to do better, inspires you to be all that you can be, versus a manager is a whole different vibe. Typically, what I've experienced, I'm just speaking from my personal experience, just not for all managers, but from my experience, when I talk about the difference between a leader and a manager, it was more delegation and control, where you don't really get positive team dynamics out of delegation and control, because when people feel control, it's a whole different vibe, versus when you have a great leader, they're going to create positive team dynamics. But so I guess we have to define, what does a great leader look like? And I'm not going to go into everything, but some of the qualities that I feel like that I've been able to create for a positive team dynamic was when a leader has to be able to share their influence, share the power for the people in their sphere of influence, and also the people that work alongside them. I think great leaders have the flexibility. You have to be able to ride the wave. You'll be able to take the licks for the team sometime. I think great leadership is passionate. You passionate about what you do, because for me to create positive team dynamics, you got to be passionate. It got to be more than just a job, because the passion will push you. The purpose will drive you. When things get hard and it's just a job, you'll quit. You'll give up. And, you know, but when it's a purpose and it's a call on your life, and this is something you feel like you dedicated and called to do, it'll push you in the hardest of times. I think great leaders remain teachable, because if you remain teachable, then you able to be taught by your team. And I think when your team feel valued, seen, and heard, like Linda said, but also when the team know that my skill set, my knowledge, my wisdom has an effect on a leader, it's gonna impact the team. I think that's one of the great things. All members on my team teach me something, and I sit down and I glean from them. So I think great leaders always remain teachable. I think also in the field, when we're talking about mental health, you have to be empathetic. You got to be compassionate. And last, which we talked about a lot on this panel, is you got to be open, honest, and transparent, because people will always be able to tell when you're not being genuine. You know, people can tell if you're just trying to be politically correct, or if you coming in here fake, because the test of time will always show who you are as a team leader, but it also has an effect on the positive dynamic you will or won't be able to create. So I think that's very important: transparency, honesty, and openness. So that's my take on what a positive team dynamic would look like and how you can create it.
I saw Linda covering her mouth and I feel like she had a thought. Linda, do you want to hop in before we go to the next question?
And oh no, ma'am, I was just I drank some root beer and I burped.
Okay.
Little transparency there.
Okay. I love it. I thought you were like, I think I'd want to say something, but I can't. Thank you so much, Sharhonda. I think that's so, just the transparency, the genuineness, really, I think being real with people, and people can see, right, when you're kind of faking that. And I think that's what I feel from both of you, right? And why you stand out to me as such inspirational leaders is from the moment I met you, you were just real with me and real with what the struggles were, and where your team was at and all those things. And Linda, I think part of that transparency is recognizing, right, when there is something bubbling up on your team, right? And I love that you were like, okay, let's sit down and talk about this as a team, right? Versus trying to kind of flow over things and then they get worse, right? And so I really heard kind of being upfront when something is challenging and bringing it to a head, letting everybody talk about it. So really appreciate that. We kind of touched a bit already on diversity of teams, and that was something we really wanted to highlight. You both shared with me just how proud you are of the diversity of your team and how that really impacts clients. So maybe we can just talk a little bit about, how do you think the diversity of your team impacts on the client experience?
Does it matter who goes? We don't want to break rules there. Well, I tell you, I think diversity looks different to everybody. You know, I mean, you can look it up in the dictionary and it says one thing, but does it really mean that when you're in this kind of program? You know, diversity looks different for every program that you have. It has to do with the community. Where we are, where I was raised, right here, I mean, blocks away from here, it was primarily, even back then, it was primarily a Black community. We now have Asian Americans, we have Hispanics, we have a lot of Hispanics now. That has changed since I grew up, you know. And so I think that your diversity of your team on how they are accepting of other cultures, how they present themselves when they're talking, they're not talking over people's heads. I think them getting along with the other units within, you know, the other programs in the Spindletop Center. And whoever was asking where we're at, I'm in Beaumont, Texas, by the way. We have 5 counties, 6 counties, I think now: Jasper, Jefferson, Hardin, Orange, and Chambers. So, but that's where we're at. But I think the diversity of the team, you got to have a little bit of young in there. You got to have a little bit of salt and pepper in there, and you know, and then you have to have just different folks who handle things differently. You know, we have to be open to each client as an individual. And I think that's where, for us, for, you know, for the way I teach my staff, that's where our diversity really kicks in. Yeah, we can figure out our stuff in here within the unit, you know, within the program, and talk to each other, have meetings and all that good stuff. But you're getting out there, and if you don't listen to something, we had an unfortunate system where the parent said, hey, I'm going to use that, Ms. Hannah. We had an unfortunate thing where the parent had said that she believed her son was going into crisis. And, you know, she never used the word crisis. She just said he wasn't doing well and didn't pick up on it. Sometimes, you know, you get rushed, you know, you're in that area. And so the team has to be diverse enough to recognize that, hey, we've got to make a decision on our own and either turn this around. It's not going to be a session, it's going to be a crisis, or do what the parent said, not come at all, you know. And we missed it, and it caused the client to go in a little bit more crisis. So, you know, I'm talking to the parents on the phone. My staff are out there my newer staff were out there to meet the client. And I think where the diversity had to kick in is we had to meet those parents, not the client, where they were at, and they were upset. So they had to change their demeanor and learn that sometimes that's going to hit. And I think our staff have to learn to be so diverse that they can turn the switch off to turn the other one on, the appropriate switch on, to be able to handle the situation. And I think for us, that's where our diversity comes in. I think it's different for everybody, for every situation. So I think the bottom line is that we have to be flexible in our diversity overall, you know. I hope I answered that question. You know how I babble and I don't ever answer the question.
You answered it good, Linda. You did good. I think, everybody got a different, when you hear the word diversity, you're gonna have many different thoughts. For me, I have the honor, I have the privilege, I lead a totally minority team. But even in that, we diverse. We got, different races, different ethnicities. And then I think I'm gonna brag on my team. We come from a lot of different backgrounds. So like on my team, we have people that come from community mental health. We have entrepreneurs. We have people that come from the residential treatment world. We have people that come from the IDD world. We have, people that come from the real estate world. We have people come, the medical field. So we have we diverse in our races and ethnicity, but we also diverse in our experiences. We have some people who have had, a plethora of years in the mental health field versus some of us who didn't have no experience in the mental health field. And then we have people with lived experience. So we diverse in so many different ways, but it works for the client because especially being a minority, we can understand the complexity of systems. We can understand what it feels like to be, have stigma, to deal with biases or discrimination or racism and that type of thing. We understand what that feels like. So I think for us, our diversity works for us and the client because it works for us. We build a camaraderie. Some things we don't even have to say because minorities, just certain things that come with that territory. But I think it works for us and the clients, and that's how I would describe it.
That's amazing. And I really appreciate the way you all highlighted just different aspects of diversity, right? And different things that make your team diverse, whether that's background and experience, ethnicity or cultural background, right? All of these differences and incorporating all of them. So one of the things that we talked about is how it can be challenging when there are differences of perspective on the team. So I'd love to talk a little bit about when there is a difference of perspective. How do you help team members work together?
For me, I make sure that our new staff, like both of my new staff right now, I'm working with Josie in learning the clients, the importance of reading the past history. Since they're first coming in, they don't know the clients like we do. I can tell you everything about our clients because they've been with me since day one. But, when you have new staff come in, I think it's very important to educate them on the client first, do an in-unit kind of introduction to them. And then it's very important to do ride-alongs. And if you're not sure what a ride-along is, that's where you're getting in the car with your staff and you're going out in the field with them. I don't think it's just important to do it when they're first starting. I think it's to keep doing it throughout their, I don't care if you've been here 3 years, going to go do a ride-along, and be sure that we're staying consistent in the care that we give. So when we run into that diversity where I know somebody, some of our younger and newer people who've never really dealt with mental health straight out of, I start to say high school, out of college, well, high school too, but out of college, they're not sure, they see TV programs, they read in books, this is how bad it can be. And, like for Josie, she's a little bit further ahead than Corrigan, and, being that he has lived experience, he understands the importance of talking to that person instead of talking to that diagnosis. And I think with, going back to how we handle that diversity, how do we handle, with the client is to remember that they're people, if they got an accent, then they have an accent. You get the language line on the phone, and if you can't understand them, get them to speak their language, make them comfortable, because it's not about us. It's about us being comfortable with them. And if you're scared, you teach them what they're not scared of. You tell them what to expect just in case, for safety, making sure your back's to the door, all those kind of things, and they're ready, trained for the field. Make sure you got a place to run, kind of thing, in case, because it does happen. But at the same time, I don't want you to be thinking about the whole time. I want you to focus on that person. And I think they're finding out because, we have some pretty ill people, just like most of the programs do. And some of them that's their baseline, and it's heartbreaking. It can be real heavy on our persons, on our staff, if they don't remember that they're people first, and to be a diverse team that remembers that one main thing, that they're human beings, and you're not seeing someone who the culture is poor and they got holes in their floors in their house, rats running around or whatever. Then you go to this other house that looks like a doggone mansion. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And you wonder, because it makes you wonder what happened to make that one loved one have something like schizophrenia, because you think, you get stuck in that stereotype kind of stuff. And that's where diversity kicks in, because we see people and we judge them. We don't mean to. It's the culture of its society itself. I can get a whole big old thing on it. We have to remember that these are just people just like me and you. I have back trouble. Sometimes it pisses me off all day long. Oh, I said a bad word again. It takes, I am going to get so trouble. Y'all are recording this piece. But I got to, I'm sorry. But I don't even know what I'm talking about. But we get stuck in stereotyping people. We see a homeless person. We deal with a lot of homeless community over here in South Texas. Okay, a lot. These people don't even have anywhere to live. Some of them live at our basketball court at night. Some of them sit on our bench outside the door. I can't talk without my hands, Some of them live in the field next to us. We have projects all around us. That's not what I see. I see people. I still can't figure out the big mansion right in the middle of it, but everything else, that's my people. That's where I grew up. So it was easy for me to come in here and be diverse with, to be open with the people that I know. This is my community. But like you said, sometimes we have people coming in who's not used to dealing with that. So we focus on the person, and that's why we have the person-centered recovery plans. I think, the best insight I can give to everybody listening out there, when you're serving your clients and you're making sure that you're well, number one, when you serve your clients, look at them as people, and you will give them the best services ever. Even if you don't know everything, you're still training and everything else. If you just remember they're people and let your heart be in it and your common sense, you're going to do a great job. The end.
Thank you so much, Linda. And that was beautiful. And I think I just love that you kind of talked a bit about your own biases, right? And recognizing that all humans have biases, and that's part of how we are as humans, but we need to investigate those and understand those and think about how that influences our work, and then kind of center our work with heart, right? With that genuine relationship with people, which is, kind of the theme of our conference, right? So you're exactly on it. Sharhonda, what would you like to add about that?
We talking about how we handle conflict on teams, or what was the question again? Conflict on teams?
Yeah, when team members have different perspectives.
Okay. I think for me, have been able to do, I think it all boiled down to the relationship that I have with my team and the relationships that my team have with one another. So when we do have differences, we build relationships built on respect. We build, relationships built on honesty and transparency. So it has been easy for me and my team, even when we have differences of opinion, to hear each other out, because we respect one another. We value each other. So we'll hear each other out. We'll see both sides of it. And me as the leader, I try to let them figure it out first, because, they capable and they competent. Now, if I see that they can't figure it out, one, I'm gonna validate, whatever, both opinions, and then have to empower them. And if we need to solve it, we're not talking about conflict. We're just talking about difference of opinions. So, because everybody can have a difference of opinion, so it's really nothing to solve. It's just long as we can approach the conversation with respect and we can end it with respect. It's okay to have a difference of opinion, and if it's wrong, completely wrong, then, we'll correct that. But I let them have their differences of opinion, and they always do it respectfully. But I think it goes back to the relationships that we have built one with another.
That's incredible, Sharhonda. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we're getting some comments in the chat box about moving to work with you all.
Miss Sam,
Yeah.
I'd like to address something. Somebody said, I'm in the rep, says,
Oh yeah, go for it.
it's from Elizabeth, I can't say, I think it's Elizabeth. It says, I noticed that we have some team members who struggle, oh dang, it's moving, with high anxiety and affects the team dynamics. Can we discuss strategies to work with these folks who are struggling with their own mental health? Absolutely. We have now, while we're not their counselors, we're LPCs, the team leads are usually licensed professional counselors. You have insight out the wazoo. You have personal experience, and that's why we share as a team. Your team meetings are going to be very important to address those kind of anxiety things. I talk to them one-on-one. It's not always in the team. I have people right here in this room who are anxious and nervous about meeting all the clients. I have one in here that we talk all the time. We talk at least every other day to be sure that she is on task, that she's okay. And like I said, it starts with that. You have to be well. So you have to talk about things. And that's where, as a team lead, as a supervisor, if you're a supervisor, you need to be open enough, have that open door policy where your door's closed or not, that people can come and talk to you and say, hey, I'm on the struggle bus. I'm having high anxiety. What do I do about it? You have to explore that, just like you do with the clients. You got to remember your staff going through things too. They're people too. Say, okay, let's look at your barriers. What's keeping you from understanding this? What's keeping you from doing this? And it's almost like our staff aren't clients. Well, some of our staff are clients, but at the same time, they're not our clients. They're not EOP clients. So, but we still have to treat them like human beings. And we try not to bring all the drama, if you will, into it. But we also have to address the fears. We have to address the education, because sometimes you have to repeat yourself over and over and over again. And as a leader, you got to be okay with that. Okay, because even if you said, you said it last month, this month you may have to remind them. And we have to get out of our own head and not cause our staff to be having more anxiety. We don't want to be part of that problem. Giving them an out when they're having high anxiety, to come and talk to you, or to be able to talk to another staff member. Say, hey, were you nervous when you first started? Oh yeah, I sure was. It goes away because you get more comfortable. We have to let them know it's a normal stage. Oh, you can't have anxiety, that's just terrible bullying as a manager, to say, hey, you can't be this way. You have to take care of the clients, because you can't say, hey, your health matters, and then tell them it doesn't. So you have to be consistent in your speech and your verbalization when you're talking to your staff. And the same way with the staff, they can't use the word, I'm going to say can't. They can't use the word, oh, I'm fine, when you can tell the body language and everything else is not fine, and we all do that, right? Well, I say fine, fine means something else. So, I won't call them out. I'll pull them in there and say, hey, you want to talk? Shut the door, and I'll just sit there until they talk, and they'll talk. And you got to have that open door policy. So I hope that kind of answers your question, Elizabeth. It starts, if you're a team lead, it starts with you. If you're not a team lead, it still starts with you. We have to have open doors for each other. We have to be acceptable to be listened to ourselves and to our fellow, I start to say inmates, we're not prisoners, to our fellow staff. It's gone. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Linda. And I think this relates to this idea of professionalism, right? That we have to, in order to be professionals, we have to say, we're doing fine, there's no issues, right? And that sort of norms of professionalism can interfere with being authentic, right? And being genuine. And I think what you're both bringing is you have to bring that real emotion, right? Bring those real struggles to the table, maybe say something in not the most perfect way in order to really be genuine and have that real relationship with your team. And I just think that's so important. So thank you for emphasizing that. Anything else you all wanted to kind of echo in the conversation before we move to talking about some challenges and successes? Okay, right. So go ahead, Linda.
I think it's too important, you said in developing that trust and stuff. find time, say, I don't have time. How many times have you said that yourself? I don't have time. It's the same 24 hours it's been for all my life. What do you mean you don't have time? You have time. You have time. Look at the time you goof off and all that stuff. We're shutting it down next Wednesday. And we're going to be revamping some stuff, and make some cheat sheets. That's going to make it easier because we're having some center changes. So we want to be sure that I want it to be easy for the staff, and we're going to create our cheat sheets together. And plus, it's just going to give us a break. We need a break. Well, we do team building events where we go out and have our meeting at a restaurant. Sometimes we'll just go out and eat. We had our team meeting last week. And we went out to eat lunch. We were all hungry, so let's go. We went out to eat, and you got to step out with each other sometimes and be humans instead of workers. Just be. Yeah, I like that. Just be. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. Just be. So, but that's how you build trust. People got to see you be real, how you acting, out in public, stuff like that. How someone eats you'll learn a lot about them. Okay. I got some people who inhale their food. That tells me they're always in a rush. I have some people who take half of the food home with them because they're shy about eating in front of people. I have some people that order light because they don't want people to think they eat too much. Watch your people. Let them watch you. It tells the story. Just breaking bread together, and that's where ministry kicks in. Break bread together. You'll learn a lot about a person. Yeah.
And I think what you're highlighting, Linda, about really getting to know people as people, not just workers. I think that's so important. We bring all of our stuff to work, right? Whether we want to or not. And so knowing that and helping people through that, rather than pretending it doesn't exist. I think that's so powerful. So let's talk a little bit about challenges and successes on teams. And maybe Sharhonda, I'll start with you. Kind of what have you found as a leader to be one of the biggest challenges for you?
Wait, let me say this before I answer that question, because I want to piggyback off something I was saying. Two things that I kind of live by in leadership. One is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And then the second one is that I'm big on as a leader. I have power with my team and I over my team. I just want to put that in there to piggyback on some of the things I was saying. Because I think when you talk about challenges of a team, for me, our biggest challenge has also been our biggest success. Our biggest challenge is navigating the complexities of systems, policies, and procedures. But I'm so proud of my team. My team, we like family. Like Linda was saying, you become family. And I think it makes all the difference. It's going back to one of the quotes that I said earlier. It's the difference between working for a leader and a manager. It's a whole different vibe, how you move, how you work together. So when my team dealing with the complexities of systems, whether it be, the mental health system, that can be complex, especially for some of our clients. And we working in community mental health. So that's a whole different ball game. So navigating those things. But I think when going back to the diversity piece, my team is so diverse. So we have a wealth of knowledge in how to navigate different systems, whatever they may be facing, whether that's, you have children that might be going into residential treatment, or you got people with housing issues. So we got some understanding with that. We have people that we have to transition to IDD services. So I think having a plethora of knowledge and being able to navigate those many different systems, and the lived-in experiences, that's very important, because they have the firsthand knowledge of what it feels like on the client side, but we also have the professional side to help them navigate systems. And I think other challenges of systems that as a minority team we sometimes have to face is systematic oppression, dealing with microaggressions, and things of that sort. but I think we have been successful as a team to navigate these many systems because we are very diverse. And I think our relationships, we have strong relationships with each other. It's not just a job. Like, all of my team members, I feel like, we see each other, we hear each other, and we value each other. And going back to my style of leadership, I'm a servant leader. So I want to help them both professionally and personally to become the best version of themselves and to be whatever they choose to be and achieve whatever goal. And I try to assist them in that process any way possible. And us being family is how we work through the challenges of the complexities, whether it be of the system or whether it be systematic oppression or whatever we're facing.
Yeah, and for me, I think the biggest challenge as a team almost comes down to individuals as well, is because we get into that thing, I can't, and when you first come in and it's overwhelming and you're learning everything, you're learning about the different apps you got to learn, and everything else. And on top of that, you got to learn how to write notes, I mean, it's so much navigation. You're constantly navigating for your first 6 months of hire easily. 90 days, it's being kind of just shoved down your throat. Here you go. Now do it, and I think your training just doesn't stop. And I don't think your training should ever stop because it's always changing. I think one of the biggest obstacles, though, is that I can't, because it spreads like a bad seed, Oh, she can't do it. I really can't either. I thought I was doing it, but I can't, and I think how as a leader, when you say, okay, something's happened, we have a problem. I use we a lot. Do I use we a lot?
Mm-hmm.
I use we a lot. My host staff's here, y'all. I use we a lot and it's something that I've known all my life. I try to use I and we. Well, we're a team. So everything that comes out of our mouth, when someone makes a mistake, no matter how bad or insignificant it is, or, it's something that needs to be fixed quickly, it's we that did it. It don't matter who it really points to. It's we that did it. We have to fix it because it's on all of us. Why didn't you catch it? Why didn't you catch it? Why didn't you catch? You could do the pointing the finger thing and blame everybody all day long. It doesn't matter. Everybody missed something. Now we have to fix it. We broke it. And I think when you talk to people and you use that kind of language, and you're saying we all the time, and when it takes away that individual stress of I can't, knowing that they have a bunch of people around them that can. See? So it becomes we can. And I think that's very important. And it goes back to our motto, I am because we are. We can't do it without one another. That's the only time we really can say we can't is when we're not working together as a team. That's kind of how I feel about that, because it also tends to go to our success as well. How do we make it happen? We constantly remind each other that we have each other, because if I can't find the answer, I sure will. My staff all know that. I will bug somebody until I'll call HHSC. I don't care who I call. I'll call Sam. Sam knows I'll call her. I will find out about it and I'll figure out. If I don't know something, I don't care. I'll tell you, I just don't understand. I don't get it, and I'll find out how to do it. And that's where vulnerability comes in as a leader, because I don't know everything. Sometimes I just fake it until I make it, and then we figure it out together, and then we polish it up. We build on what we know, because everybody in this room has something to give. We build on that. I steal their ideas, make myself look good, things like that, No, I don't do that. But we build on it, we use that as a team. And so always just be open, and team leaders out there and staff, remember that we're a we. Even in our programs outside of Texas or programs in Texas, when we go to conferences like this, it's an opportunity for us to learn from one another. There is no bad idea. It could be something that you could use to revamp your stuff, the way you do things. I learned a lot from Sharhonda this last month. She speaks just a little bit different than me. I'm just a little laid back country girl, that was raised in a small community, rural areas. Where we have more outreach places to go get food than we do anything. but we have little resources for housing, so we help each other in this community. We help each other in this team. And we're hoping that EOP here at Spindletop will spread that beautiful joy of working with one another. We got to get away from the I mentality, because it brings in the word I can't. So that's how I feel about that.
Linda, I absolutely love that idea of we, and it just being a team effort. And then the way that you extended we, not only we of your team, but we of your community, right? And how that we then extends outside of the team into the community. And it also reminds me of what Sharhonda said about the power with, not power over her team, right? Like together, they're a we, they have that power together for themselves and their community versus her as an individual leader. I just think y'all are really nailing that home. So I just so appreciate that perspective. Unfortunately, we only have about 7 minutes left, and we have so many amazing questions and comments, and I know that I could learn from you all day. So I'm going to jump into one. And this one, this one actually comes with a comment that I'll just share, that these ladies are real leaders, real in all capitals, such compassion and kindness towards their teams. I was hesitant to attend this conference, but I'm really glad I'm listening to this. And so I just think that speaks to how much you all are leaders in inspiring others. And again, this is not, like Sharhonda said, about the leadership title, but it's about being a leader in the way that you can inspire and be with others. And I just think that's so powerful. So their question is related to that. As you all are thinking about that real leadership, what strategies do you have for staff development and helping your staff to develop leadership skills?
Teach them everything you know. Okay? I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. Don't hide anything. Don't hide anything. They got to know there's a budget. Hey, and somebody said it looked like it was all women on here. Now there's some dudes here. We got one right here in this room. You just can't see him. There's one at the top, Mr. Dixon. He's here. So there's some dudes in this thing. So you're good. You're not the only man. So, but I think it's very important when you're training your staff to be consistent. Yeah, that's where a lot of companies mess up with that. They say, okay, I'm going to teach you because you know a little bit more. So I'm not going to teach you everything. You have to take every staff member and clean their slate out of your head. You know what you read on their application. You know what you read in their resume. And sometimes resumes are full of fluff. We all do it, So you got to wipe that out, pretend they don't know anything, and teach them everything that they need to know. Make sure you have a good system in place when you're developing your staff for certain positions. Be sure you're keeping it very organized as much as you can, because things do happen and you have to stop training to take care of a client, that kind of thing. But just be consistent, be prepared as a leader, have you a good training system. Like on this table right now, I'm ready for the new staff. I'm ready to do Corgan. I have all their paperwork right in front of me, ready to go. I'm not having to stress about, and we had a team meeting where we learned about trust. We all went to a team event to learn about trust again. We have another one where we're going to learn about team dynamics as a team, since this team's kind of new again. And we're all doing it together. We take the test together. Be consistent in what you do. If you have two teams and you have two family partners, make sure they're doing the job the same exact way, consistency. That way, if someone leaves or is on vacation, the other one can go right to their role and take care of business. And that's another thing about developing. Just don't develop like, your recovery coach or, skills trainer, wherever you call it, their caseworker. Don't train them just on their job. Make sure they know a little bit about every job. That's what ride-alongs are for. They're not only to ride with the other units in your company. They're also for you to ride along with your own people. Have them set in on those meetings. Make sure they're going to these meetings for HHSC every month, things like that. Some of them, you may not get out a little bit, but if you can get one thing out of a meeting, then you learn something. That's how I look at it. Okay. So, and it's just like with this, you may not take everything away from you, but one thing may be said and you're going to go, that's going to be your aha moment. And when you develop your staff, they're going to have those aha moments. They're not going to understand anything you're saying. They're going to hear blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you're going to do or say one little thing and it's all come together. So if you're consistent with your staff, and I'm training Corrigan, and then Tuesday he goes with Josie somewhere with Hannah, he's going to go, oh, that's what she was talking about. Because then he's going to see it. So be consistent in what you're doing. Give them visuals, give them paperwork, make sure everything's ready to go. Because if you're organized when you're training them, they're going to be organized when they go to work. Hopefully.
I'll make mine we only got a few minutes, so I'll make mine real quick. I think everything Linda said is exactly correct. You do have to teach them. I think it's just like children, more is caught than taught. So they watching you, they watching your leadership style, they watching how you handle conflict, they watching how you handling people, how you providing services. Way more is caught than taught. I mean, but you need to teach them, you need to equip them, you need to, so that they can be able to provide the services whether you there or not there. And I think also another thing when you're thinking about leadership, because it differs from a manager. A leader, you're not a great leader if you don't got a succession plan. So you should be training somebody to be able to do your job, because when you succeed or you got to go to the next level to do something else, wherever you called to do, you need a succession plan. So I would say make sure you be true to yourself, be real, be authentic, and be mindful of what you are doing, because way more is caught than taught. So that's just my little take. We got two.
I love that, Sharon. Oh, go ahead, Linda.
Yeah. Hey, one last thing. Somebody just said, they put some resources on there.
Oh,
When you're
amazing.
going to a manager meeting or something like that, like that one we did on trust, that was actually for managers. My team came with me. Okay. Because then they get and we use it as an individual thing to see how we're doing as self-managing. See? So let them be part of that kind of stuff, that way, let them manage, because you know what? They may be the next manager at your company. So I would love somebody to leave the program because they're being promoted because they did that well, So it's something to think about. And Ms. Sam, you hit on that. We're creating leaders. And even if they don't move up, they're still leaders. They can lead in their role in the FEP program.
I love that. I think that's a beautiful note to end on, that part of your job as a leader is creating other leaders, whether they have the title or not, right? But those leadership principles, bringing that forward, and then also hopefully seeing them, right, enter leadership roles and title in the organization, right? Being able to support your people to enter leadership, I think is really huge. And that takes sort of the power sharing as well that Sharhonda was talking about, right? You can't be the one with all the power if you're trying to help other people develop. All right. Thank you all so much. I could talk with you all day about this, and we will have to save the chat box, because I think so many people here were inspired by the leadership principles that you bring and the authenticity that you bring to this work. I think people can see just who you are and the way that who you are centers relationship and is just real in leadership. So I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to both of you. You are both leaders that I absolutely admire and am inspired by, and I am really honored that you decided to have this conversation with me today.